Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Dev Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhakti Next Chiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 26, Fundamental Principles of Material Nature. Text number 4 onwards. Saish Prakritim Sukshmam Dhamim Gurumayim Vibhu Yatrichaya Gatama Abhiyapadyat Lilayam. As his pastime, that Supreme Personality of Godhead, the greatest of the great, accepted the subtle material energy, which is invested with three material modes of nature and which is related with Vishnu. In this verse, the Gunamayim is very significant. Devim means the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Gunamayim means invested with the three modes of material nature. When the material energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead appears, this Gunamayim energy acts as a manifestation of the energies of the three modes. It acts as a covering. The energy emanated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests in two ways: as an emanation from the Supreme Lord and as a covering of the Lord's face. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that because the whole world is illusioned by the three modes of material nature, the common conditioned soul, being covered by such energy, cannot see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there are two energies we all know, internal and external. Internal is spiritual energy or Yogamaya, and external is Mahamaya, external energy, material energy. So the material energy, of course, it says here that it covers the Lord's face. But Prabhupada gives the example in the purport, or that this covering is of the covering of conditioned living beings. Prabhupada gives the example. The example of a cloud is very nicely given. All of a sudden, there may appear a big cloud in the sky. This cloud is perceived in two ways. To the sun, the cloud is a creation of its energy. Because cloud is what? Because of sun rays, the water gets evaporated from the ocean. And when the water gets evaporated, then it gets together all the vapor particles, and that becomes the cloud. So the cloud is created by sun, but to the ordinary common man in the conditioned state, it's a covering to the eyes. Because of the cloud, the sun cannot be seen. So the cloud covers our eyes. Cloud cannot cover the sun. Cloud is not that big that it can cover the sun, or that powerful. But it just covers our eyes, and then we think that the sun is hidden. Sun is not hidden. If we take the flight, we go above the clouds, we can see the sun. The sun is not covered by the cloud, but the clouds cover our eyes, and we think the sun is covered. And sun is the source of the cloud. Because of sun, the clouds come into being. So similarly, the Maya is energy of the Lord, and Maya covers our eyes. Maya cannot cover the Lord. Maya covers our eyes, and we think the Lord is not there. It is not that the sun is actually covered by the cloud. Only the vision of the ordinary being is covered. Similarly, although Maya cannot cover the Supreme Lord, who is beyond Maya, the Material energy covers the ordinary living entities. Thus, conditioned souls who are covered are individual living entities, and he from whose energy Maya is created is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In another place in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 7th chapter, it is stated that Vyasadeva, by his spiritual vision, saw the Supreme Lord and the material energy standing behind him. This indicates that material energy cannot cover the Lord, just as darkness cannot cover the sun. Darkness can cover a jurisdiction which is very insignificant in comparison to that of the sun. Darkness can cover a small cave, but not the open sky. Similarly, the covering capacity of the material energy is limited and cannot act on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is therefore called Vibhu. So we are Anu, we are very small, very little. And the Supreme Lord is called Vibhu. Vibhu means huge, big. As the appearance of a cloud is accepted by the sun, so the appearance of the material energy at a certain interval is accepted by the Lord. Although his material energy is utilized to create the material world, this does not mean that he is covered by that energy. Those who are covered by the material energy are called conditioned souls. The Lord accepts the material energy for his material pastimes in creation, maintenance, and dissolution. But the conditioned soul is covered. He cannot understand that beyond this material energy, there is a Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the cause of all causes, just as a less intelligent person cannot understand that the covering of clouds, beyond the covering of the clouds, there is bright sunshine. So this Maya energy of the Lord, it covers our eyes, not just the eyes, it just covers our intelligence so strongly that we cannot see the Lord. Although the Lord is there, right there, but our eyes are covered. So the spiritual master does what? Spiritual master, by his instructions, he removes that covering of ignorance, covering of Maya. And when that covering is removed, then we can see the Lord, we can see ourselves, we can see our relationship with the Lord. So that covering has to be removed. And Maya, just like in Prabhupada quotes, it gives reference to that. First canto, 7th chapter, where Vyasadeva, when he got the instructions from Narad Muni and he wanted to write Srimad Bhagavatam, then he saw at that time, in his trance, he saw the Supreme Lord and the Maya, material energy. She was standing behind the Supreme Lord. She cannot come in the front. But, so she cannot come in the front means she cannot even cover the eyes of the liberated souls. She can only cover the eyes of conditioned souls. She can only cover the intelligence or consciousness of the conditioned souls. Because we, conditioned souls, we are towards the back of the Lord. All we have to do is try to come towards the front. And then we can see the Lord face to face. Gunar vichitra srijatam sarupah prakritim prajaha vilokya mumuhe sadhya sa ih gyan guya. Divided into varieties by her threefold modes, material nature creates the forms of the living entities. And the living entities, seeing this, are illusioned by the knowledge, covering feature of the illusory energy. Material energy has a power to cover knowledge, but the covering cannot be applied to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is applicable only to the praja, or those who are born with material bodies, the conditioned souls. The different kinds of living entities vary according to the modes of material nature. As explained in Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literature, In Bhagavad Gita, it is very nicely explained that although the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance are born of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is not subject to them. So everything comes from the Supreme Lord, but he is not subjected to the three modes of nature. He is beyond that. In other words, the energy emanating from the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot act on him. It acts on the conditioned souls who are covered by the material energy. The Lord is the father of all living entities because he impregnates material energy with the conditioned souls. Therefore, the conditioned souls get bodies created by the material energy, whereas the father of the living entities is aloof from the three modes. So see, clearly explained here by Lord Kapil Dev. In fact, the picture behind me is Lord Kapil Dev speaking to his mother Devhuti there. So his mother Devhuti sitting at the floor. So Lord Kapil Dev is clearly saying that the three modes of material energy cannot cover the Supreme Lord. It can only cover the conditioned living entities. Means the Supreme Lord never ever comes under the jurisdiction of his own Mahamaya. Only we do. Means we are not the Supreme Lord. If we speak with Mayavadi philosophers, they always say, we all are God. I am God, you are God, everybody else is God. So if I am God, you are God, everybody else is God, how can we forget our position and how come we come under the modes of material nature? How come we came under the jurisdiction? No. They say, right now we have forgotten that we are God and will become God once we realize that. God does not become God. He is always God. And living entity never becomes God because we are never God and we're not going to become God. We'll never be God. So these verses clearly say that Supreme Lord never comes under the jurisdiction of Maya. Only we do, the conditioned souls. It is stated in the previous verse that the material energy was accepted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in order that he might exhibit pastimes for the living entities who wanted to enjoy and lord it over the material energy. So Lord accepts this material energy, or he comes here to perform the pastimes, to attract conditioned souls like us. His performance of pastimes completely show his control over the material energy. But because we are in Maya and because of this Mayavad philosophy, we start thinking that it is our pastime. Right now, whatever is happening is our pastime. We are dead scared of coronavirus right now. A microbe. No medicine, no vaccination for it anywhere in the world. And we think we are God. And we think we are controllers of the material energy. We are not the controllers. If we are the controllers, then try to control this coronavirus. Nobody has any control over that. All we are trying to do is remain scared and remain inside our house, so we just remain unaffected. That's all we're trying to do. We have no control over even this little microbe. And we think we are God. So nonsense philosophy is this Mayavadis give. And that's why Prabhupada calls them rascals and people don't like it. But this is simply rascaldom. We are not God. God never comes under the influence of Maya. He comes and performs his pastimes to attract us. This world was created through the material energy of the Lord for the so-called enjoyment of such living entities. so-called enjoyment. And what is the level of our enjoyment? Just some physical pleasure or mental satisfaction? That's about it. And even that physical pleasure that we get, as we discussed at the time, it's chewing the chewed. That's all. How much juice or how much pleasure we can get out of these senses. And even that pleasure right now, just look at everybody, what kind of pleasure we are getting. Nothing. Scared to even go out. Everybody is trying to increase their immune system right now. Forget about any pleasure. Why this material world was created for the sufferings of the conditioned souls is a very intricate question. There is a hint in the previous verse in the word Leelaya, which means for the pastimes of the Lord. The Lord wants to rectify the enjoying temperament of the conditioned souls. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that no one is the enjoyer but the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This material energy is created, therefore, for anyone who pretends to enjoy. An example can be cited here that there is no necessity for the government's creation of a separate police department, but because it's a fact that some of the citizens will not accept the state laws, some of the citizens will not stay in the house. So the department is there to deal with those kind of criminals, to beat them up and kick them inside the house. There is no necessity, but at the same time, there is a necessity. Similarly, there was no necessity to create this material world for the sufferings of the conditioned souls. But at the same time, there are certain living entities known as Nitya Baddha who are eternally conditioned. We say that they have been conditioned from time immemorial because no one can trace out when the living entity, the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, became rebellious against the supremacy of the Lord. So that's why we are called Nitya Baddha, eternally conditioned. It is a fact that there are two classes of men, those who are obedient to the laws of the Supreme Lord and those who are atheists or agnostics, who do not accept the existence of God and who want to create their own laws. They want to establish that everyone can create his own laws for his own religious path. Without tracing out the beginning of the existence of these two classes, we can take it for granted that some of the living entities revolted against the laws of the Lord. Such entities are called conditioned souls, for they are conditioned by the three modes of material nature. Therefore, the word gunar vichitra are used here. So the conditioned souls, they become conditioned. Conditioned means under the condition of these three modes, they want to declare the supremacy or control over the three modes. But we don't understand. We are conditioned. We are controlled by Maya. In this material world, there are 8,400,000 species of life. As spirit souls, they're all transcendental to this material world. Why then do they exhibit themselves in different stages of life? The answer is given here. They are under the spell of the three modes of material nature. Because they were covered by the material energy, the bodies are made of the material elements. Covered by the material body, the spiritual identity is lost. And therefore the word momohe is used here, indicating that they have forgotten their own spiritual identity. So that's why Prabhupada writes this point. We are under the spell of the three modes of material nature, under the spell. Like a magician, he casts a spell on somebody. He puts some kind of spell on the person, and the person forgets who he is. And he starts acting out the way a magician wants. So similarly, the modes of material nature, they have cast a spell on us under the direction of the superintendent of the modes, or Durga Devi. Why? Because Lord wants her to do that. She works under the under the supreme, under the control of the Lord. And that's where we forgot our spiritual, that's when we forgot our spiritual identity. This forgetfulness of spiritual identity is present in the jivas or souls who are conditioned, being subject to the covering, to be covered by the energy of the material nature. Jnana Guhya is another word used. Guha means covering because the knowledge of the minute conditioned souls is covered. They are exhibited in so many species of life. It is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, the living entities are illusioned by the material energy. In the Vedas also it is stated that the eternal living entities are covered by different modes and they are called tricolored, red, white and blue living entities. Red is a representation of the mode of passion, white is a representation of the mode of goodness, and blue is a representation of the mode of ignorance. These modes of material nature belong to the material energy, and therefore the living entities under these different modes of material nature have different kinds of material bodies because they're forgetful of their spiritual identities. They think the material bodies to be themselves. To the conditioned soul, me means the material body. This is called moha or bewilderment. So we are under the spell of Maya. So thinking ourselves as these bodies. And these bodies are what? Created by the material modes. Three modes, different permutations, combinations. So the result is 8,400,000 species of life. And this energy of the Lord, Maya, works so dexterously, so expertly. We don't even realize that I'm not this body. And just imagine if this Maya, material energy, works so expertly, how expert must be the Yog Maya of the Supreme Lord? That is his own internal energy. So how expert Yog Maya must be? When we are covered by the Mahamaya, we forget that we are a spiritual entity. We think we are this material bodies. And Yogamaya is so expert that it's out of order of Krishna that she makes even Krishna forget that he is the Supreme Lord. That is Yogamaya. Of course, Yogamaya means everything she does is to connect everybody, every entity to the Supreme Lord. That's why her name is Yog. Yog means to connect, to link. So even though the entities in the spiritual world, they forget that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Here in material world, also we forget that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. But over there, the forgetfulness, under the spell of Yog Maya, makes us more close to Krishna. Here, we stay away from Krishna. That's the difference. Just like we posted that the first lockdown was when the Golden Leela happened and everybody was under the Govardhan, under the shelter of Krishna, and Krishna had held up the Govardhan on the tip of his pinky, the little finger of the left hand. But still, although Krishna held up Govardhan for 7 days and 7 nights, and as all the Brajvasis, along with their cattle, along with their whatever livestock they had, to come under the Govardhan hill and take shelter. And Brajvasis, they were not even distracted or scared of the rainfall or the wind that Indra was sending. Or afterwards, Indra got so angry, he came himself and he was sending the thunderbolts. But Brajavasis didn't care. Even the cows and the calves, they didn't care. They were not afraid. But they were not looking at Krishna as if he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The whole pastime was arranged by Yogamaya. But Yogamaya makes everybody forget that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yashoda Maya was looking at him and she wanted to feed him that Krishna, Lala, you have been standing here for 7 days, 7 nights, you haven't eaten anything. And his friends, they said, Krishna, your hand must be getting tired. We will hold it up. You just take rest. Of course, all the sticks, wooden sticks, broke when they tried to hold up Govardhan. But the mood was not, they were not thinking, oh, Krishna is Supreme Lord, he can hold it up. What's a big deal? No. Nobody was thinking Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Krishna himself wasn't thinking he's the Supreme Lord. Because then that would create an obstruction in his dealings with his devotees. So Mahamaya makes us forget that Krishna is the Lord and what's our relationship with Krishna. But Yogamaya makes everybody forget Krishna is the Lord. And Krishna also forget his Lord. But they all remember the relationship with Krishna. Yashoda Mayanand Baba thinks he's our little son. Radharani thinks he's my paramour. And the common boyfriends think, oh, he's our best friend. And the cows and the deer and the peacock, they deal with him differently. So this forgetfulness will always be there. So it's just when we are trying to go from Mahamaya to Yogamaya, we are trying to remember that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when we also become more advanced, we will also forget, because then we come under the jurisdiction of Yogamaya. So anyway, till we are there, we have to remember. So it is repeatedly said in Katha Upanishad that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is never affected by the influence of material nature. It is rather the conditioned soul, so the minute infinitesimal parts and parcels of the Supreme, who are affected by the influence of material nature and who appear in different bodies under the different modes. So we'll stop here, see anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, these colors are referring to what? Like Abhi in this globe, blue and red and white.
It is different colors, different modes are associated with different colors. That's about
Okay.
it.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, if we like, say, blue color, that means we are in mode of ignorance.
Balramji wears blue color dhoti. Radharani wears blue color sari.
Yeah. Because all clothes are blue, most of them.
Oh, no, that doesn't mean that.
Thank you, bro.
It's just that color is associated with ignorance. That's
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Long time.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for explaining about Yogamaya and Mahamaya. If I'm not correct, if I'm not wrong, sorry, Prabhuji, can you, you mentioned about Mahamaya as external energy and Yogamaya as internal energy.
Mm-hmm.
That is what you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like Mahamaya is like that the energy that make a common man forget about Lord and think himself to be Lord. This is what?
Yeah.
Okay. And I have one more question from Bhagavad Gita. Yesterday, I was reading I was reading the chapter 2. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentioned about Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan. So, like, I wanted to exactly know the difference between Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan.
Oh, it has been going on in these chapters. Brahman means the Brahm Jyoti. And
Okay.
Paramatma means the super soul, and Bhagwan is Krishna himself. So there are three different aspects, but they're all related. But Bhagwan is still Bhagwan. So Jnanis, they want to merge in Brahm Jyoti. Yogis, they go up to the Paramatma level. And devotees, bhaktas, they reach Bhagwan level.
Oh, okay. Okay. Understood. So, like, what is Brahm Jyoti? Like, is there anything called Brahm Jyoti? Really, is there anything like Brahma Jyoti exist?
Yeah, Brahm Jyoti is the effulgence of the body of Krishna.
Oh,
All the Vaikuntha planets, between Vaikuntha planets, what is it? A Jyoti, the light, Brahm Jyoti.
okay. So for a Jnani, they try to achieve till Brahman. That's what
Brahm
it is.
Jyoti, or Brahman, yeah.
Okay. So Paramatma means what? Like you said, super soul. Super soul is what? Like we are an individual soul. We are Jivatma. So like above Jivatma, it's called Paramatma. And then you said Bhagwan.
No,
Bhagwan, Lord Krishna
what,
itself.
what do you mean above Jivatma is Paramatma?
Okay.
Paramatma is with us in the material body, is along with the soul, there is super soul in the heart. And the super soul guides, he sanctions our desires, he acts as a witness to whatever we're doing, whatever we are thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately his role is to guide the Jivatma back to the spiritual world.
Okay.
In the spiritual world, there is no Paramatma feature.
Okay.
It's only in the material world. But the yogis meditate on Paramatma feature.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
There's one question by Sadhu Bhushan Prabhu on chat.
Yeah, I'm trying that you keep different backdrops. Well, my iPhone gives this feature of virtual background, so I can use any picture as a backdrop. So talking about Mahamaya and Yogamaya, so tomorrow is when Navratri starts, so everybody worships Durga Ji. Durga Ji is Mahamaya. So we can worship Durga Ji, but in the mood that she is Mahamaya. She is a servant of the Lord. She is a devotee of the Lord. She is wife of Lord Shiva. And in that way, she can help us come closer to Krishna if we worship her.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, a quick question. Like in beautiful verse, I was
Okay.
just trying to inculcate the inner meaning of it. What I believe is out of these 84 lakh yonis in which we go into, like let's suppose a frog or let's suppose next life, a human being or something like that, and we think that we are that particular whatever the species we are in, a fish or whatever. And that could be the very reason that we forget that we are a super soul and we are under the uh, under the supreme personality of God, and we forget everything when we come into this life. And like we also have this fear, like coronavirus is all around, and I heard that people are listening bhajans and all those, whereas they never ever those musics were playing and in their homes during normal days and all. So I think, or could be any other example if I give human being fears that if somebody stabs, will die, and so on. And that's the reason, and we don't believe that, we are a super soul. Nobody, like in mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, nobody can kill us, or no, we can't be wet because we are a soul, or Agni, or the fire cannot destroy us, something like that. So it's because the realization is not there within us, that what we are actually. We are not this body, we are the soul of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Is that correct, Prabhuji?
Yeah, but first thing, we are not super soul, we are soul.
We are soul, yeah.
We are Jivatma, not Paramatma.
Yeah.
We are part and parcel of God, but we are not God. Clear. We have to be clear in that.
Yes, yes.
And yes, Krishna gives all these miseries to make us understand that we are here temporarily and we are not the controllers, and only bhakti can take us out. So people are sitting, devotees are sitting at home and they are chanting more rounds now. So what to do? They cannot go out anywhere.
Absolutely.
So for them it's all okay, but for people who are not into this, then they have to learn, they have to understand.
So, Prabhuji, in clear examples, like the way we pass the exams, we read a lot of books, we practice maths and everything before we give the exam. Similarly, we have been told by, Srila Prabhupada and other ISKCON devotees that we go doing chanting daily so that we remember the God and hear the Bhagavad Gita recitations and all those things, so that we are more into it. We clean our heart and we go closer to this realization, isn't it?
That's the idea, yes.
Exactly. Very nice words, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for explaining it.
Thank you all. You all have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.